Hello, this is Aiden. Welcome back to Aiden's Game. Today I'm gonna try and make a little laser gun for y'all because I think that'll be cool to show. And then we're gonna go over a bunch of the changes that I've made to the game so far. Stuff that I haven't really told y'all about. And yeah, first I'm gonna go shave though, cause look, the little developer growth right there. Something. I'm back. I've shaved. Isn't that cool, right? Today we're gonna go over some weapons, and I'm gonna show you the process of actually adding them to the game, what that looks like past the 3D modeling stage, right? So I'm not gonna show you the 3D modeling process exactly because I don't have textures to model a new weapon yet, although these textures are simply AI generated, as you can see. Okay, so as you can see, this is the image that ChatGPT generated. I don't remember exactly what I asked it, probably something along the lines of laser weapons, but took a couple of refinements and eventually I got something that I liked. It's not too cartoony, but it is cartoony enough and easy enough to texture, right? So using this texture, we come over here and you UV unwrap it. So you can Shift Z to select all the faces, click U, and then I usually do project from view. And what that does is it projects that into your view. I know, crazy. So you can see this is where that's projected onto the texture. And it's just this lets me make texture or make weapons super duper fast because it's as simple as blocking out something that looks visually interesting in a 3D sense, but that is also not crazy complicated. As you can see, this is not a perfect circle. It doesn't have 30,000 vertices on it. It's just got a couple, right? Because that's much better for performance overall, right? But all we're gonna do is just grab these weapons, and this is the only texture they use. We'll click File, click Export, FBX, because we want all of our things to be in FBX. We'll apply the transform. We don't need to check anything else over here, right? And we'll call this laser weapons. Yeah, I don't know if that's how you spell laser, but that's what we're gonna call it, right? Then we'll go over and we'll find it wherever I put it. Perfect. Okay, so now we have it up. We can close Blender, sure, save, whatever, right? Then in our game, what we can do is all of my items are contained right here in this items folder. This has all the important stuff. You got consumables, reusables, wearables, the actual model packs themselves, which is where I'm going to import this to probably. We'll just go ahead and all we got to do is just drag it on in and it'll import. And a lot of people have issues with Unity textures not importing properly. It's as simple as grabbing your texture, dragging it on in. And this is part of the reason I don't use materials that I make in Blender, because they don't transfer over correctly a lot of the times, because the whatever you're making the texture out of in Blender is like its own node-based system, and so you have to do something. I know there's a way to make it work. I don't know how, and honestly I don't think that they look good enough to warrant doing all that. Where did that actually, okay, I was looking for the model for like far too long. All right, we found it though. So we'll just place it somewhere in the scene we want, somewhere there's a little bit less crap, because there's a lot of crap all over the place. So put them over there. And then for the time being, I'm gonna go ahead and disable one of these dudes because one of these guys is hostile. I believe it's this dude. Yep. Go ahead and toggle him off temporarily, right? But as you can see here, our laser weapons in game. Isn't that cool, right? They're obviously way too big in comparison to the player, because this is the size of a cow dude, and that's how big the laser weapons are. So that doesn't seem quite right. So we're gonna go over here and we're gonna just adjust the scale, right? Now what this is gonna do is, because I have the parent of the weapons, is gonna adjust the scale uniformly among all of them, right? So everything in here will be adjusted according to this scale, because this is the parent. This is how you wanna do shit, because it keeps everything the same, right? Because if you go in here and you start messing, like if I mess with this dude's scale, that fucks up just the handle. We don't wanna do that. We wanna mess with this scale, because that, as you can see, grows and shrinks the entire thing, right? So let's just try 0.5 for right now and see if 0.5 looks right from the player's perspective. We'll go ahead and launch the game. Wait for all the scripts to reload and all that fun stuff, you know, right? And now that you can see we're in the game, let's go ahead and find our weapons wherever they are, right over here. They look about the right size, I'd say. I think this is a good size for them. And now is the process of making them into actual weapons, you know, into usable parts of the game. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to separate each part from the model, right? Because right now they're all, Blender doesn't like to actually save the names that I give stuff sometimes, so it doesn't always transfer over. So that's what we're going to do now, right? And we'll quickly, wait, first you got to unpack the prefab. Wait, first actually what we're going to do is we're going to make material for this. And I'll show you why in a second. Wherever it went, laser weapons, click extract materials. We'll just select this folder right here. And then it should have made a laser rifle pack material, yep, right here, with the correct base map. Now all we're going to do is we're going to turn the metallic up to 1. We'll turn the smoothness down to 0.25 because that doesn't look good from the inspector view, but it's what looks best from the player's point of view in the game. All right, okay, now we can go ahead and prefab unpack completely, right? Because that's the link to the prefab, so sometimes the material doesn't update correctly and won't carry over your changes if you make a material to here and it's already unpacked. So keep that in mind and stuff, right? Okay, so now we're gonna just go through and take each part of the weapon and we'll you know, we'll separate them essentially, right? So this one, okay, so first off, let's go over what these weapons are probably gonna do, right? I'm thinking that this one is definitely like a laser or plasma rifle of some kind. It's got red on it, which indicates laser stuff to me. So I'm thinking this is sort of like a laser machine gun. If I had to make up some lore, I think it would probably be used by some sort of police force or some sort of I don't know, so because it's very obviously like industrial grade. Like these are fabricated screws and custom metal parts and stuff. It's not the same sort of tech garage jank that we usually see, right? So this weapon is probably going to end up being some sort of laser rifle of some kind. This one though, I'm a lot less sure of, because this one I was sort of thinking like electricity and shit, because look at that trigger, right? And so I have these little charging panels up here that can be changed from blue to red or whatever, right? So I'm thinking this is going to be some sort of electrically firing gun. I'm thinking it'll probably shoot balls of like electricity or something like that. And then this one, I'm thinking because of the fact that ChatGPT just put weapon on there, I think that's really funny. I think that this could almost be like one of those vending machine weapons that you would see in like Cyberpunk or something like that, where you just go to a vending machine and you're in a dangerous part of the town or whatever, so they want to sell you weapons, and this is the generic weapon that you get. This would be some sort of, all of these are like professionally fabricated weapons. These are not the same sort of garage jank technology that you see in let's say, where's our portal gun? Portal guns. What is it? Here, this joint right here. Okay, I don't know why I did it like that. But like this, you can see is it's a vacuum cleaner with a bunch of screws and you know, it's got RAM and stuff. You know, where's the actual? I don't know where the actual model is. Is that thing I'm tweaking? Yeah, it's this. So yeah, as you can see, it's all these different little screens and fans, and it's got RAM and it's got an outlet strip. This is very garage jank tech. That's what I would consider that. This, however, is not. This is more professionally done. So it has to be for a more professional audience, you know. But anyways, right, so this is our empty game object. We'll just call this generic gun, because this is going to be for this weapon down here. All right, we'll go ahead and move it out here. We want to make sure it's scaled properly, one on every single thing, because when we instantiate it, we don't want it popping out weirdly scaled, right? So, and it's aligned in the correct position too, because you want it nearby the gun, because we're going to parent everything to it. And then this part we're going to just put in here, and then for ease, we'll toggle that off so we know what all is in that pack. So we'll go ahead and drag everything else over in there. And and then boom, now this part is its own separate mesh. And we're gonna do the same thing for these couple weapons too. I'm gonna just call this one electric gun. All of our laser weapons easily separated by the weapon, you know, by the actual model. And this is just what allows you to create little model packs, basically, which is kind of cool. So we'll go ahead over to weapons, and we'll go to guns, right? And as you can see, there's a bunch of different guns in here. And we just create a whole new folder for each gun. So we'll go laser rifle for this one, because it's the first one I want to work on. Create folder. We're gonna create a folder called model. We're gonna create, or models, plural, right? We're gonna create a folder called versions. And usually we'd create one called scripts, but I'm not gonna do that this time around because I don't think this one will need very many custom scripts, if any at all. Because most guns in the game don't, because they are complicated, but they're not complicated beyond the existing configuration that I already have. Like most guns don't need custom scripts in order to function in unique ways. They just need modifications to the existing gun script that I already have, which is super handy because, you know, why wouldn't it be? Right, but in this model, we're gonna go ahead and open it up and see again, the scale is off, which is what I don't fuck with, because why is it like that? That's weird. Did it fuck it up? It did fuck it up. See? That's what I was talking about. Sometimes it'll just break and you'll be like, why did it do that? That makes no sense. But whatever. Don't feel like fixing it too much. So we're gonna leave it. We're gonna center it at 0, 0, 0 though. And that should, yeah, that moved us. Right. Now all we're gonna do is we're gonna go over to, and this is just so we have a copy of the model, so that way we can put it on NPCs and use it for other stuff too. Because yeah, right, we'll go over to versions. We're gonna create 2 versions of this laser rifle. First, we're gonna go prefab, unpack completely, because we don't want it tied to the other one, right? We're gonna call the first one round item, right? Boom. We're gonna go prefab, unpack completely again, and then we're gonna call this one game item. Bada bing, bada boom, we have our whole little things right there, right? Now, for a ground item, what they consist of usually is a box collider. They have a rigid body, and they have a script called ground item v2, and then certain things like guns specifically have another script on them called item data holder, and it's going to hold the current ammo of the gun and stuff like that. That way you don't, you know, lose all your ammo the second you drop the gun, or manage to use that to get infinite ammo and stuff. You know, that's no fun. So first, what we're going to do is we're going to adjust this box collider a little bit, so that way it more closely resembles the gun. Okay. Firearm at hand. We'll do something like just like that. Doesn't need to be anything crazy complicated. It's something I learned from another gun YouTube developer, right? Gun models don't need to have crazy complex hitboxes a lot of the times, right? Especially if this is just something that's gonna sit on the ground, right? So yeah, we do that, and then now's the part where we create the actual scriptable object item that represents the item. So we go to game items, new item, we'll call this one laser rifle. Item ID, we'll set that later. It's not nothing, so we don't want to check that. It's not food, so we don't want to check that. It can't be cooked or anything like that. The item name, we'll call it laser rifle. Shoots, cool, lasers. And of course, all this I'll go back and refine with something a little bit better, obviously. Now we need a item icon. Item icons are kind of a pain to get sometimes, but it's not the worst thing in the world, right? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and toggle off gizmos, so that way we don't get shit in our background. We'll capture a nice little screenshot right there, just like that. And then we're gonna use the most valuable software in the world, Paint 3D. It's no longer on the store, so if you don't have it, I'm sorry. Sucks to suck, I guess. You missed out, because it's pretty useful at dumb shit, you know. So that's exactly what we're gonna do. We're gonna just remove all these little side pieces, just like that. And then we have a whole little item icon right there. We just scale it up a little bit, give it a little turn, and then we'll click Save As, Image, check Transparency. We'll adjust the angle and framing, change into 3D view, right? And we'll angle it properly so it looks nice. Transparency is still on. Now we want to adjust this texture to like 128, something like that, or honestly it could even be smaller than that, but whatever. We'll save it just like this. We'll go laser rifle, what is this called? What is this? Sprite? Laser rifle sprite. Boom. Don't need to save that. Go to downloads where it is, drag it on in. And then we have to change it to a sprite, 2D and UI, hit apply. And then now it works as a sprite. We can use it right in there. Right, now for the item prefab, we want the game item. For the ground item, we want the ground item. Very simple, it's not armor, so we don't want to check that or anything like that. The default ammo for this weapon, I'm gonna put it at 45 because this is a laser rifle. We're in the future. There should be a decent amount of ammo, you know. Sorry, there should be a decent amount of ammo. Some in my oh my gosh, okay. So next steps, what we gotta do, we gotta configure the item part. Yeah, item part already got configured. I'm fucking dumb. What am I doing? Ground item. We go over here, and then this is where we configure this, right? Rigid body should be fine. Box collider should be fine. We already adjusted the script finder. It'll find that. I don't know why that's public. Sprite renderer doesn't need physical model. We'll set up this and the parent. Also, this is not infinite. It does require interaction, and it should use the physical model, right? And we do want a cool pickup sound, and I don't have too many of those because I'm not an audio engineer and I haven't, you know, taken the time to do all that. So hopefully this one sounds pretty decent. We'll test that out in a second here. And we'll just set up all the basic stuff. Ground item. Audio source doesn't need to be maximized. Okay, and then I think this should work as a pickupable item now, if I've configured everything correctly. Minus, actually, first what I'm gonna do real quick is I'm gonna add the item's ID to the thing that does stuff, right? This thing is a little tool I use ChatGPT to help me make. Allows me to easily update item IDs. I just have to, it is a bit tedious though, because I have to find the last item ID. Honestly, item IDs can be strings too. They don't have to be just numbers, but I've kept them as numbers thus far because it's easier, right? But we could have them be strings as well. It looks like the last one that I used was item ID 54. If I'm looking correctly, yeah, 54 is seeming correct. So this will be item 55. We'll go ahead and save you. And then we'll go ahead over to the project window, move you off to the side. We'll go to our player V2. Versions, new one. And then all we gotta do is load this part right here. So we just click this button and then bam. There's, yeah, 56 game items because one of them is an empty item. It represents nothing. And then, yeah, so now we should be able to just drag in a little game object and put it over here by this barn so I remember where it's at. We're gonna do something like this, right? Isn't that cool? Maximize the game screen and let's get started, you know. Deciding how close or far away the item should be. It should feel like. I feel like this is a decent distance, right? So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and screen capture this position and scale and everything. Open that up, drag that over to my other screen. Now I can go over to the game item and I can properly position it. Is this it? Yes, it is. So 0.42. We got 1.35. We got 0.97. And then just like that, I think it should now work. And spawn in the correct position, which is exactly what we were trying to do. It's perfect. Works out perfectly, right? So let's see. Maybe it won't. You never know, right? Yep, perfect spot. All right. Now, what we have to do is for ease of use. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just drag in one of the other old game items that is a gun, and I'm gonna just use that. And I'm gonna just refactor the script a little bit, or not refactor, but configure the script a little bit, and it's gonna be perfect. It's gonna work exactly how we need it to, and it'll be good. So the AK is the gun that I mess with the most, right? This is the one that is the most tweaked and refined, has all the newest features and stuff in it, basically, right? So we'll go over here to the game item. You want to make sure you're at 000. Are you at, no, you're not. Oh, wait, no, you're not supposed to be at 000. I was wrong. Right, whatever. So what does the game object have? Game object has shotgun V2, it's follow rotation, crosshair behavior, gun perk manager, and that. So I'm gonna just screen cap this real quick so I don't forget about this. And then shotgun V2, that's what's called. I'll be forgetting what my own scripts are called a lot of the times because there's a lot of them. Whatever. So yeah, we want our shotgun V2 script. This is the main gun script in the game. This is what it was initially for shotguns. That's why it's called shotgun V2. But it works for basically every type of gun you would need to make. It works for burst, automatic, shotguns. All of that is configurable and is all toggleable. I can adjust a bunch of shit about that, and then also a bunch of shit related to the recoil. And then what else do we need? We needed a follow rotation. We needed a crosshair behavior. And a gun perk. We don't actually need half of these now that I'm looking at it. Muzzle. Yeah. We don't really need this right now, and we don't need this right now. This is the gun perk system because eventually I'm going to add gun perks. Very similar to rounds where you can just sort of take cards, or in my case with my game it's going to be spells, right, that you can put on weapons or enchantments, and they're going to modify your weapon in a variety of different ways. But that's what this script is supposed to handle. It's just got all this stuff commented out and privated right now, so you can't really see any of that. But yeah, and then the crosshair behavior is just for the crosshair, and we'll worry about that in a little bit. Also muzzle flashers for that too. And then we can leave you on, actually, you're fine. Then yeah, now it's a matter of copying over those settings. Why did you, okay, whatever. Guns, AK, versions, game object, go over here. Copy components, go over here, paste component values. Now there's a couple things we gotta change here. We're gonna change, what are we gonna change? I don't know. Shell prefab, I'm gonna make it not fire shell. So that's a modification of the script I have to make. Now I can upgrade the gun script so that way I can toggle on or off whether or not shells get spawned. Because not laser weapons probably shouldn't have shells, or maybe they should have cooler shells, I don't know. But either way, so we're gonna make a couple empties in here. We're gonna create a shell reaction pose. We're gonna duplicate it. We're gonna call this one fire point, and we do have to toggle on the lighting so we can see, but it makes everything fucked up. Now we're just gonna move you to the end of the gun. Right there. That should be good, moving off a little bit. Okay, so muzzle flasher script is going to be this one. Gun tip, fire point, shell eject position, boom. And that's all good. Ammo count. We need a TMP text, so we'll create. This is a 3D text object, so it's gonna you know, be 3D, right? This is gonna be hello cones. Do 0 out of 0 so we can get the size on it proper. Yeah, the 6 all the way off over there. But this is basically what takes the longest, is just going through and actually configuring and making all the content. The scripting part is not very, very challenging, and for the most part, a lot of that stuff has already been done. So a lot of the systems I've been developing over the past several years are working well enough to where that's not the immediate concern. Like, most of the scripts work, if not flawlessly, they work pretty bug-free, or bug-free enough for me to feel comfortable making content for it like this and spending all this time doing this shit, right? So yeah, that's all. I don't know what my point was with that, but yeah, we'll do all that. We need to add an audio source too. There we go. Here you go. Okay, now I think it should be good. We want this to be the default though. Then yeah, I'm thinking it's working pretty well. Let's try a couple muzzle flashes, right? No, okay, muzzle flashes exist in game. I was wrong. So muzzle flashes have to be physical game objects that will be responsible for the muzzle flash. So we'll do that when the time comes. For right now, let's just test to make sure it's actually working at all. Because it has a tendency of just not doing that sometimes, and we don't want that, so. That's a problem. What the fuck? What is firing? Fucking muzzle flasher is tweeting out. Of course the muzzle flasher is tweeting out. So this is an example of a code change. This is not going to be anything crazy. I'm just going to add a null reference check because that's what's happening. Is it's trying to spawn the muzzle flashes. There's no muzzle flashes in the array, so it can't spawn them. So it's crashing out on me. So what I can do is I can just be like, well, if there's muzzle flashes in the array, then spawn them. And that's the change we're going to make. Assuming it's not crazy complicated, because sometimes I just pull up some random piece of code and it's like the most complicated thing in the world. Okay, that's what I thought this was for a second. And because the studio does this work. This is not at all the script that I just clicked to open, like at all. This is the one I was trying to open. Or this one is. Yeah, open that bitch. Damn. See, this one's much less complicated. Okay, so perform muzzle flash. So all we're gonna do is just add a little check right here. If, and we'll move all y'all into here. So if muzzle flashes greater than 0, no, it's not equal to null. What am I doing? Not equal to null. Yeah, so if muzzle flashes is not equal to null, then perform a muzzle flash. And hopefully that fixes this and makes it not fucking spaz on us for just trying to use a weapon. Like, normally this doesn't happen because I just copy the AK directly into the new prefab, and I just use that, and I just put the new base model on top of that. So the muzzle flashes come with it, and so this is me making the item essentially entirely from scratch, right, using the existing scripts. Trying once more, because there's more issues. Because there's always more issues. There's never not issues. That's just not real, right? It wouldn't be fun if there was no issues. Oh my God, what is still the problem, bro? Who's still crashing out? Okay, and now it works properly. Maybe I'm gonna just cut all that out because this is long as fuck now because of all that. But it works now. It's shooting the correct direction. And now, yep, I can massacre citizens and whatnot with the most brutality. I'll probably keep this weapon using medium ammo because I don't. It's a laser weapon, so in theory it would have to be like semi-practical to use, but not like so practical that it's all it gets used. That makes sense. Yeah, got his ass. Got his ass. Right. But yeah, that's a laser weapon. It doesn't sound cool though, so now what I'm gonna go ahead and do is take a quick break, start working on the little sounds, because it's a laser weapon, right? So it's gonna have like sounds. Okay, I'm back. Let's take a look at the laser weapon and see what new sounds I've added. Because I added some sounds, and then also I put a couple particle effects and like trails and shit on it. I also changed the again, here I go pointing that shit, right? I changed the font for the ammo. Words. Ammo has a cool little more space type font, you know? I need to move the weapon down a little bit because as you can see it's kind of getting in the way. But I also changed this crosshair. I do kind of want a red crosshair because I feel like it's a laser weapon. It should have a red crosshair, but I could not change the color on this crosshair very easily. This is not one that I made, but it adds more variety. I feel like to weapons. That's the reload sound. Sorry if that caught y'all off guard. But yeah, let's just look because yeah, this crosshair is it's just an asterisk, basically. It's that, and so I think having different crosshairs on the weapons alongside the different fonts and the different sounds and the different models will all give each weapon a very unique feel. And that's before we even get into like the gameplay level of shit. Like each weapon can technically operate differently. Like I can have weapons have different amounts of ammo. I can have them shoot different projectiles. That's something I didn't mention earlier, is that these are not hit scan weapons, so they shoot a physical projectile. So that projectile can have its own code and can do its own unique things. I could shoot things like saw blades, I could shoot grenades, I could shoot basically any game object. And yeah, and I think this is going to open up a lot of room for variety with weapons and stuff. So this is the laser weapon. After the sounds and everything, let's go ahead and mow down some of these cow dudes. Feels way cooler to use. It's got oh, I also upgraded the bullet script, so now the bullet script will play a whizzing sound when you shoot. So let's see if we can hear it with the AK. We might be able to. Yeah, you can a little. And then yeah, there's also an impact sound that plays, but it doesn't play as loudly as the other ones because of distance and stuff. This is the laser weapon. To reload it, it's got a burning sound when it lands, and I think that's kind of cool because it makes it feel like it's hitting the ground with so much heat and energy. It's sizzling, you know. You can hear it a little bit in the end. It's calm. It's calm, little tiny something, but I feel like it adds a lot to the feel of it. So let's go ahead and mow down our dude here. Come back. If you can hear, they're screaming "ow" because that's my voice, and I didn't have any pain sound effects, and so that's sort of just what I threw in there as a little test. That's gonna change at some point, but yeah, it's got a little light, it's got a muzzle flash. The actual laser itself is, it's got like a little red trail to it. I feel like it looks pretty cool. I will change it so that way it's a bit more emissive, because it needs to like glow. Basically, it's a laser, right? And right now it doesn't really glow much beyond when you fire it, and that initial burst of light hits the laser, and then that sort of illuminates it a little bit. But I think it could be an emissive material, and then that would look a little bit better. So we'll try that, and I'll show you that if I change that. Don't know if I will. I might. But yeah, that's the laser gun. I think that's all I'm gonna do for this video, because it's probably already getting pretty long. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. I just sort of wanted to show y'all, I guess, the back end side of the development, because I feel like you never really see that on game dev YouTube. You never really see just how they actually made what they made. Like, I want to be able to see an item that a developer put in a game, and then exactly what their thought process was when it comes to how they decided to configure the item, how they decided what the item could do, and what the limitations of the item are, because, you know, you're doing this all in programming, so there's really no definitive rules, so you're kind of just basing what you do on how you've seen it done before and stuff like that. And so I think this is a pretty good example of sort of what the process looks like when you already have some basic scripts in place that can handle stuff like shooting guns and stuff. Because we didn't do anything crazily script intensive today. All we did is just assemble some stuff using pre-existing parts that I already had, right? And I left in a bunch of the mistakes. I cut out a big chunk of where I essentially completely messed up the weapon, and I had to like redo basically everything because I did it wrong in the first place. It generally still works the same way though, and whatnot. So there's that. Game development is not fast. It's not problem free, and I kind of wanted to emphasize that here, because I feel like a lot of the time you'll see developers sort of just show you the end result or show you the finished thing, or they'll just not be honest about what the actual development is like. And I don't want to pretend for even like half a second that this is a bug-free or error-free endeavor. I am not built like that. I cannot just write something that is going to work perfectly the first time around and it's going to work well, per se. But if you keep doing it right over and over and over again, eventually you get to a point where it does work, and you're like, okay, it's fucking sick. Now we have lasers. So I don't know what more you could ask for. So, but yeah, I'm gonna end the video here. Love you. Goodbye.
Okay, do it again.
Live in the studio, back again.